Hello everybody, Treatum here, and welcome to Free to Play Friday, where I take a look at free to play titles to see if they're worth it and give you a brief impressions or a review depending on my experience with said title, and just see if this is something that you guys would like. So we're going to start off with Albion. This is our first game of the series, Albion Online, a cross-platform mobile/PC sandbox mmorpg. Yes, you heard me right. You can play this on your phone. Now, I want to start off by saying that if you do not like full loot PvP, then you may just want to find another game. This game has it. And when you die in certain areas, you will lose all your stuff. So, yeah, let's go over the basics. So in this game, you are what you wear. That's its motto. All the gear that you put on gives you abilities and passives. So you can mix and match all the different gears in the game to acquire the build that you want. So, for example, we got bows. Let's go to the bow area. We've got multiple different bows with different abilities. They do different things and they excel at different parts of the game. You've got shoes, chest, and head pieces of armor, and this is the cloth. Then you've got the armor, or I'm sorry, that's leather. And then you've got armor down here. And they all have their own abilities. So the combinations is insane. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of combinations that you can put on, equip, wear. It is ridiculous. There is a ton of build potential here. If you love theory crafting like me, you can spend hours, and I have, playing this game just for that alone. But the reason why I don't really play it anymore is two reasons. One, this game becomes a part of your life. This game is one insane grind. And two, it's the full loot PvP. Now, I wouldn't mind the full loot PvP if skill was a factor. And skill is part of it, but also item power is also, it's a huge part of it as well. If someone has just bigger numbers than you, then the odds of you winning is just that much more lower. Odds are you're going to get your butt kicked is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, sure, skill does play a factor, but item power does too as well. So, because if you were to look at pieces of gear, they've got a rating. They also have an enchantment system. That's what this green outline is. That's what this dot is. So this enchantments, the rating, the quality, all that will factor into the item power. And the higher the item power, the more effective the stats are. So as you can see, this is just a flat 6. It's 966. This one is 1111. Now, another thing that gets factored in is how much you've leveled that item in particular. So if we were to go to the torches, you see I'm level 41 with my torches. And a level will give me a 0.2 bonus item power for all torches. If I level just this and I get it to like 100, that's an extra 200 item power, and that is a big difference. So the more you play, the more powerful you get, which seems pretty standard for MMOs. The issue is it's a full loot forced PvP. And I'll get into that in a minute, because I know a lot of people probably argue with me on that. So the issue comes down is, yeah, the more you play, you're going to get your butt kicked a ton until you can gain enough item power to become competitive. In PvP games, people want fairness. They want an equal playing field. And I think that's what the huge issue with these style of MMOs is. You gotta have some sort of progression to give people the incentive to get more powerful, but then PvP gets ruined, in my opinion. Once again, this is my opinion. Now, there are arenas, and these are scaled battles, and they are a lot of fun. They are probably my favorite thing to do in this game. I loved the scaled arenas because it's a fair fight. Not so much open world. Now, when it comes to open world, you've got blue zones, which are completely safe. You've got yellow zones, which means it's flagged, non-full loot PvP. And the way the flagging works is you'll show up red for everyone else, so everyone knows that you can potentially hurt them. So if you see a blue running around, you know it's safe. If you see a red, It's not safe. Now, if you die in these yellow zones, you're not going to lose your stuff. You may lose a little bit of silver and maybe some crafting materials, but as far as your items go, you will not lose. Red zones are flagged as well, so once again, if you see a red, you know they're dangerous. But this is full loot PvP. And if you go up here to this insanely large continent up here, huge, absolutely massive, black zones. Everyone is red. They may not have the intention of killing you, but you don't know who has that intention and who doesn't. And the way the progression works is you got these tiers, tier 6, tier 5. And the higher tier you get, the better equipment that you can put on, the higher the tier zones you're going to have to go to because you're going to need higher tier resources. Eventually, you can get to tier 8, tier 7, and you're going to be up here. There's a tier 8, tier 5, tier 6. This is where the most valuable resources are up here because they have the highest risk. So yeah, you can say you can just sit here in the blue and maybe the yellow zones, but eventually you're going to get to a point where your progression is going to hit a wall. Eventually you are going to have to get to these higher tier zones. And that's where you're going to be forced to do some PvP. So if that does not excite you at all, that's why I'm saying that you may want to give this title a pass. It is a very fun game. As you can see, I'm on my own personal island. You can even have guild islands. And on here you can do a lot of crafting, farming, raise animals. So there is that factor, but you can't just main that in the game because they do have like a 24-hour grow time. So you can come on, do your farm for a few minutes, and then leave because there's really nothing else for you to do there. Everything is on a timer. So you can't just sit there and focus on that. And now there's a huge crafting side as well. This entire right side of the skill tree, I wish I could zoom out more, but I can't, is dedicated to crafting and gathering. So there's a huge system in that. Once again, that is a system that I just do not enjoy. And let me kind of show you why. If you were to craft, let's say, a tier 4 leather jacket, you're going to need 16 worked leather. Well, to get this, you need 2 tier 4 leathers. Like, this is like raw, untampered with leather. And then you'll need 1 tier 3 thick leather. And the way I kind of explain it to people is this is the product and this is the resource. The resource will always turn into the product. So to get worked leather, you're going to need the resource. Same thing with thick leather. This right here is the product of this resource. And as you can see, it continues to go back in tier. So if you wanted to make a tier 8 jacket, you're going to need 16 of this tier 8 fortified leather. And to make that, you'll need tier 7 stuff. And to make that, you'll need tier 6, tier 5, tier 4. You have to gather so much materials. It is insane. And it's because of that insane grind, those items are very, very expensive. And therefore, hardly anyone runs those. In fact, you'll see tier 5 and tier 6 most of the time because of how grindy it is to get a tier 8. You spend an insane amount of time crafting a tier 8 weapon, and then you go out and you die, you'll lose it. And these things go for so much money because of how hard they are to craft. Let's look. This mercenary jacket, 150k estimated market value. That is insane for this type of jacket. Because if we were to look at, let's just say tier 5, 7k. 6, 26, 7, 63. It goes up almost 3 times in price because of that insane grind jump. Not only is it grindy to do that, but it's just being able to acquire those resources. As you can see, I'm only at expert hide tanner. I gotta grind a ton of these materials just to get to 6 to 7 to 8. And I also have to be able to gather these items, which means I'm going to need each knife that can acquire each type of leather. And it's like that for everything. So the amount of grind that it takes to get to those higher levels is absolutely insane. And it's because of that, you don't see a whole lot of people running around with those materials because of how hard it is to acquire and how expensive they go for. Now, you'll see people running around with 8.3 armor sets in like safer zones that they don't have to worry about losing their stuff. But very rarely have I seen it in a PvP zone, unless they're running around in like a large group. Which leads on to my next point. Playing this game solo is exceptionally difficult because the fact that people can run in Zergs. It's all one server. So you could be out in the black zone gathering and 30 people come out of nowhere and just destroy you. So you really have to be able to get a guild, run in groups. So it's very hardcore. And which is why it's a fairly niche game. Now, it is extremely popular for being how niche it is. If we were to take a look at Steam charts real quick. Steam charts, Albion. It is sitting at a very impressive 8 to 9K player base. And that is only on Steam. This does not include the SAC version or the mobile version. So it does have a very healthy player base. It is very popular. And this is pretty much the king of hardcore MMOs that you're going to get. Now, there is a ton of things that you can do, like dungeons, raids, world bosses. There's raids out here in the Yellow Zone. You've got the Roads of Avalon, which is just another Black Zone style content. So there is a lot of content here, but most of it you are going to be in a PvP zone, and you're going to want to run in a large group. If you're by yourself, you just painted a target on your head. You literally are free money at that point. So I have sunk a ton of time in this game. I was to open up my Steam here. And can I go to the actual page? There's the page. I have 577 hours in this game, and that does not include mobile. So, yeah. I have put a ton of time in this game, and most of that time has been spent in the blue and yellow zones helping newer players, because that is what I enjoy doing. I enjoy that area because it's safe. I am not a PvP person, which means, like, how do you put 600 hours in? Well, it's mainly because of the theory crafting potential. I am an absolute nerd when it comes to this stuff right here. Absolute nerd. I love making builds. I've made quite a few successful builds, and it's the biggest reason why I play. If it did not have this system, I would not play. 100%. You would not see 577 hours. So, yeah. I've spent 80% of that time in the blue and yellow zones. Now, I do really like the arenas because, like I said, it's fair. It's balanced. And I don't mind going in the black zones in large groups when I'm on with my friends or whatever guild I am in at the time. I enjoy doing all those large-scale stuff. I have awesome stories when it comes to large-scale PvP. It is a lot of fun, even when you die. But the issue is you have to be with the group to do that. You have to be active. And if you know me, you know I like to play multiple games, so it's really hard to stay dedicated to one game. And also, I absolutely love trying different stuff. As you can see, I literally have XP going everywhere. And typically, someone would recommend just maxing something out, which is very smart because the more you use the weapon, the higher level it is, the better, more efficient you are with it. So if we were looking at nature staffs, because that's what I've always used the most, I've been kind of a healer most of the time. I am level 82. To get maxed out, I'm going to need a ton more experience, 6.3 million experience, and that does not include the actual XP on the singular items themselves. So let's take a look at, this is my new favorite, I'm only level 34, which means I've only gotten a little bit of extra bonus IP for this specific staff. So as you can see, you got to level up each staff, and it's such a grind. It's definitely a long-term investment, but the fact that this grind equals power makes it to where someone who has 8 to 10 hours a day to game versus someone who only has an hour or two a day, they're just not going to be able to keep up, and they're going to lose constantly to different fights because their IP level is low, because they don't have 40 hours a week to spend in a video game. So, and I think that's the game's biggest downfall, is the way that they do the item power. I think they should do something else with it. I'm not sure what they would do, because, like I said, the biggest reason to grind for all this stuff is to become more powerful. You have to have that progression in the game to make it fun. But when it becomes to full loot PvP and dying because someone just has more game time than you, it just isn't fun. It's not fair. And that's what a lot of people want in a PvP game, is balance, is fair. And the game just doesn't have it. And that's another thing the game suffers from, is balancing. Because there's so many combinations, you're not going to get it perfect. There's no way. So certain builds are absolutely dominant, no matter if you really enjoy that playstyle or not. If you want to have a good chance of winning a fight, you got to run those builds. But there's really no way of going around that. So that pretty much sums it up. I didn't really get into too much detail on the game. I just kind of want to give an impressions to let you know if this is something you would enjoy. So yeah, if you like the button, hit the like button. If you give me some feedback in the comments below, let me know what I can improve on. And if you want to see more content similar to this one, hit the subscribe button. Have a great day.